Tampa Bay Bucks and the Detroit Lions. This is now 6.5 across the board in favor of the home team Lions. 48.5 is the low number on the board. 49, your prevailing total in this game. Adam, I was wrong. Like I said, I had no numerical backing last week for the Eagles, other than the fact that Baker Mayfield looked like a dude that was having trouble talking in his Week 18 post-game interview, and then he went out and played the game of his life. So I've said this a million times before. I want the injured quarterback experience, like, for a week in my life. It's got to be better than heroin. It's just like you go in and everyone is just catering to your everything for a week solid. And then Baker Mayfield comes out a completely new human being when he couldn't spit out a sentence basically post game the week before. I'm telling you, this is it. Give me the injured quarterback experience one time in my life. This was 5.5 on the open. Adam went to 6, now up to 6.5. So a lot of Lions money has been coming in on this thing. Total's pretty stagnant, sitting there at the 49. What say you?
There's only one side that I like this week, and you're probably going to say, "Oh, this guy's been on Tampa Bay all year long. He was hot on them for the division. He's been hot on them game by game." And I watched all of Eagles Bucks, and I watched all of Lions Rams, and the first thing that I looked across the couch to my significant other and said was, the Lions are going to smash Tampa Bay this week. That is my firmly held opinion. We did not learn anything about Tampa Bay last week because the Philadelphia Eagles quit. They did not show up for that game, especially on the defensive side of the ball. We learned nothing about whether Tampa Bay can hang with a good team. However, I think the Lions faced down probably the biggest threat they could have faced last week in a Rams team that we all thought was live to get out of the NFC. And look, they got lucky in certain ways, right? They allowed 7.7 yards per play on defense. Not that we didn't know that the Lions defense struggles, but Sean McVay made some in-game decisions that ended up costing the Rams some points, and the Lions survived it. Tampa's defense is not, to me, better than the Rams defense, and the Rams offense is certainly better than Tampa's. And so you set it up for me this week with a Lions team that somehow was able to get Sam Laporta on the field last week and make him a more effective option than we thought, and a Tampa Bay team that we've already seen the Lions hold to 6 points in the game that they played earlier this season. I do not see the game script for Tampa Bay to win this outright. I don't even necessarily see the game script for Tampa Bay to be able to chase this game effectively, in part as well because the return of Aleem McNeil definitely helped the Detroit Lions defensively in that front. And Baker Mayfield, despite the fact that he had a pretty good game last week, a lot of yards after catch, still a lot of pressure by the Eagles on him, and some cracks starting to show in the offensive line for Tampa Bay. So I only like one side this week. It is probably not the one you would have expected. I would lay it all the way up to 7 with the Lions.
I didn't end up on a side in this one. I did end up on the over 48.5. Look, the one thing here is both of these run defenses are good, and Tampa can't run the ball anyway, worth a damn. And so I think we're just going to get tons and tons of passing in this thing. We know for sure that both of these secondaries can be had. I think that the Lions are able to move the ball up and down the field on the Bucks pretty easily, given what their offense has been able to do. And then honestly, I think the Bucks will be able to do the same. I mean, if we look in the one thing I think to point out here is with the Lions, they won, and that's fine. But the Rams got stalled out in the red zone, like basically every single time they went down there, right? I mean, they were having to settle for 3 instead of getting the 7, and that just changed the way that the game was going. But the Rams were moving the ball on this Lions team a lot. And so I think the Bucks will also be able to do that as well. I like points being scored here, so I took the over 48.5. 49's fine. If you want to play that as well. I see points in this one, Steven. What say you?
Yeah, I can't push back on you too much on that one. Adam surprised me. That's not what I thought he was going to say. That's awesome. So this show is going to be the Lions show, and then Beat the Closing Number with Eli and Mo is going to be the Bucks show. So if you want to hear the Bucks side of this, go listen to that. What I'm going to do is give the rebuttal to what you will hear on Beat the Closing Number about Jared Goff and handling pressure, etc. I think that has been a bit overblown this week. And admittedly, I have twisted my brain into a pretzel with this game more than any other this divisional playoff weekend. So keep that in mind. I bet Lions -5.5 at open. That's gone. 6.5 is pricey, but I would only bet Lions at this point. I agree with Adam on that. So to the narrative that Jared Goff melts under pressure. When blitzed this season, which is what Tampa Bay does to generate pressure, he has almost 1,900 passing yards, 13 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and a 65% completion percentage. Only Brock Purdy threw more touchdowns against the blitz. Only Jordan Love completed more passes against the blitz this year. Those are great numbers against the blitz for Jared Goff. In the first meeting against Tampa Bay this year, it was a mash unit offensively. They didn't have Jahmyr Gibbs. They lost David Montgomery early in the game. So the offense became one-dimensional in what should have been a death sentence if Jared Goff melts under pressure, because they were so pass-heavy at that point. They were also missing one of their offensive linemen, Jonah Jackson, in that game. Jamison Williams was only on his second game back from suspension, and he's not allowed in the building by NFL rule when you're suspended, so it takes longer to get reacclimated once that ends. So they had less than 2 yards per carry on the ground in that game against Tampa Bay. And still, Jared Goff threw for 350 passing yards, 8 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And in games when he's had his fully healthy offensive line against the blitz, he's got 12 touchdowns and only 1 interception. So I think he's just fine with a fully healthy offense. And the last thing I'll say is Colt McCoy had an awesome video. He was doing it with our partner Underdog this week. I would invite everybody to go watch it. He was breaking down how Detroit handled pressure in the first meeting against Tampa Bay. And frankly, offensive coordinator Ben Johnson is brilliant. He's a genius. It's why he's got too many head coaching interviews to count going into this game. It was a very simple solution with how they handled Detroit's pressure, or Tampa Bay's pressure. They got out of the huddle and immediately snapped the ball. They ran to the line of scrimmage and snapped the ball. It didn't allow Tampa Bay to get aligned properly. It didn't allow them to communicate. They had hot routes. Amon-Ra St. Brown was their blitz beater.
Hot
route. Red 7. Amon-Ra St. Brown had 12 receptions in that game. The game plan was brilliant, and I'm guessing that wasn't totally their plan coming into the game because David Montgomery got hurt very early. So all of this to say, I will take Ben Johnson over Todd Bowles 8 days a week, every single time. And yes, this is an expensive spread when we have our concerns about the Detroit defense. But I'll say that I still give Detroit's defense a chance in this game, considering they have the number 1 pressure rate in the NFL this season, and the Bucs only rank 22nd in pass block win rate. And I agree completely with what Adam said. I don't give a damn what the Bucs did last week against the Eagles. He's right. The Eagles were a train wreck. I've seen better tackling when I covered high school football. It was a joke. So I'm very high on the Lions offense this week. I think they're going to play freer after a high pressure game last week with the weight of the city on them. I mean, I'm going down narrative street now, Matt, but there's no way they're going to feel as much pressure this week as they did last week. They got the monkey off their back for the city last week. So I'm pretty confident Detroit's going to score a lot of points in this game.
The thing about all of this is yeah, they blitz a ton, but the thing is they don't get home with it very often. They were 26th in the NFL in pressure rate over the course of the season. So it's yeah,
exactly.
they blitz a ton, but they don't get home with those blitzes very often. And so I can tell you this, if you don't get home against Jared Goff in this offense with the ridiculous amount of different ways that they can go about beating you, it's going to be bad news for Tampa for sure. The other thing, just so in support of my over here, because I think Detroit scores a lot in this game. Also, Dan Campbell's also proven fourth downs, like he didn't care, right? I mean, like he's going for it on fourth. Like he's not settling for 3. Like, I mean, yeah, I might come away with an empty possession or something like that, but I'm also just as likely to come away with 7 instead of 3 in this thing. If it's fourth and less than 5, his ass is going for it. Like, we do not have to worry about this anymore with this team. He's shown what he's going to do. And so
there's two sides to that coin, Matt. It could go wrong the other way, but the point is, like, that's the coach I want to bet on, right? Like the one that's aggressive. I'm betting on ceilings here. I'm not betting on floors.
By the way, if you're looking at the Jared Goff thing and the pressure issues that he's had this year, I think Steven laid out a good case about the health of the offense. But the other thing is you are choosing to close one eye and open the other, because Jared Goff was 43rd by PFF grade under pressure this year, and Sweet Baker Mayfield was 37th. So it works both ways if you're trying to make a handicap on Tampa.
Yeah, and again, I'm not 100% positive that Tampa's going to be getting home. I mean, I'm just not. Like, I'm not 100% positive that he's going to be under pressure all the time. So
it's the best offensive line in the league when healthy.
Yeah, that leads me to the handicap as well, right? Which is just like, I don't think he's going to be under pressure all that much. Okay, they get to him a couple of times, so be it, right? But I mean, I don't think it's going to be a full game of him running for his life out there for sure. And Steven, you did say, you said it for sure. Baker was great. Don't get me wrong. Baker was good. There was a lot of yak in that game. I mean, they had
100 yak in the first quarter.
Yeah, like there was a lot of yak in that game. Like
with David Moore and Trey freaking Palmer. Wasn't even Godwin and Evans.
Yeah, I mean, so let's pump the brakes a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit on what was going on there. I mean, there was literally some of the worst tackling I've ever. I mean, guys were running into each other out there and falling down on the field. I mean,
we're a week removed from this offense scoring 22 points combined in week 17 and 18 with their season on the line. Like, let's remember that too about the Bucs.
Adam, I as I'm sitting there watching it, like you'll get the reference. I don't know if Steven will, but as the Eagles are sitting there running around, like twirling around in circles, doing everything in the world other than tackling people, I'm just like, this is actually the perfect game for like the Benny Hill music to be playing in the background. Like, it actually was like the perfect game.
Like yakety sax, which is perfect for all the yak there was.
Like Bradbury going up, and it was like, that was the epitome of the entire Bradbury going up and hitting Rachaad White 3.5 yards short of the first down, and not even opening his arms to wrap around. He literally just laid a shoulder into him. And then White goes, oh, wait, you're not going to try to tackle me? Okay, then I guess I'll just run for the first down. And then he just like went and ran for the first down. Like, all right, that's the epitome of this game right there. Like that Eagle squad. Yeah, that was pathetic.